Welcome to another Georgia prison war story.
The Crips and Muslims crash out over Allah. Dorm B1 in Telfair State Prison in McRae, Georgia smelled like concrete and sweat, the kind of air that never really moved, no matter that the warden allowed huge industrial-sized fans to be placed in each dorm on the compound. You could feel the tension before you saw it, hardened eyes watching every step, ears tuned to the faintest whisper of disrespect. Dorm B1 had always been a battleground, hella noise. Respect was one of the main currencies that mattered, and every man in the dorm knew the rules, even if he didn't like them. Among the groups in B1, the white gang called Ghostface held a corner. They were 6 deep, not the biggest crew, not the most dangerous, but loud in their own way, loud in politics, loud in pride. Their leader, a redhead named Lance, had tattoos that told stories, crosses, skulls, and a crude MAGA scribbled on the back of his hand with a sharpened pen years ago. He talked politics the way others talked about football, every day and always too loud. You see what Trump did? He shout during chow, hit China with another tariff. That man don't play no games. That's leadership. The Muslims rolled their eyes. The Crips kept to themselves. Even the officers gave Lance side eyes. One afternoon, news broke on the rec yard that the U.S. had slapped heavy sanctions on another country, this time an African one. Tensions rose like boiling water. That's how you deal with them, Lance said, standing on a bench like it was a podium. Trump's keeping America first. Ain't no handouts to dirt countries. You don't like it? Go back there. Loud murmurs swept the yard, then came a voice from near the pull-up bars. You got a loud mouth for someone who can't even walk from the store without looking over his shoulder. It was one of the GDs. Others gathered behind him, Muslims, Latinos, even a couple of civilians who were just sick of the noise. This ain't the internet, Lance, the gangster continued. You don't get to be reckless and think there ain't no smoke, white boy. Lance puffed up. So we can't support our president now? No, a Muslim said from behind, stepping forward. You can believe whatever you want, but when you disrespect whole nations and call people less than human, you playing with fire. Lance laughed nervously, but no one laughed with him. The next day, Lance and the Ghostface crew woke up to silence. Nobody made eye contact. Nobody sat with them. Their locker boxes were broken in. The store goods went missing. Their workout area claimed. Even the officers stopped paying them attention. And then it got physical. Nothing deadly, just bruises, message sending bruises. Within 48 hours, Lance, the other 5 Ghostface all put themselves on the dough, catching out the PC before somebody put some steel in one of them. Ghostface was done in Telfair. They didn't go out in a blaze. They left in silence, heads down, escorted to the hole. Later that week, one of the Bloods said, ain't about Trump, ain't about politics, it's about respect. Those in earshot nodded, and learning when to shut the hell up. There was 56 inmates in B1. 11 were Crips, marked by their BK and 6-pointed star tattoos. 9 were Muslims, disciplined, quiet, and bonded by prayer and Quran. The prison was its own world, and inside B1, those 2 factions had an unspoken truce. Until one hot July evening when 2 under 20-something lokes heavily violated it. It was just after 5, the time when the Muslims took to the day room to lay their prayer mats for their afternoon prayer. The sunlight filtered through the barred window, stretching long shadows across the floor. Faces were turned toward Mecca, lips moving silently, foreheads pressed to the ground. That's when Lil Seaport and Rico busted through the day room door, chasing each other in a game of playful cat and mouse. They were young Crips, barely out of intake, still wild in the head, not yet molded by the rhythm and mandatory ways of the chain gang. They burst into the day room, laughing as one chased the other who had playfully snatched a half-eaten honey bun out of the other's hand. Their playful horseplay, stupid and loud. Their sneakers squeaked across the floor. Rico, the one being chased, accidentally tripped over Supreme, a 37-year-old Muslim, as he knelt on his prayer mat. Silence cracked like glass. And her brother Kareem, the dorm Amir, rose slowly from his sujood, eyes burning. Behind him, other Muslims stood, their prayer disrupted. Their silence wasn't weakness. It was fury restrained. Y'all little niggas serious? Kareem's voice was low but sharp. Lil Seaport froze. Rico looked like he just realized he stepped on sacred ground. It was an accident, Rico stammered. We ain't mean no disrespect. Intent don't erase impact, Kareem shot back. This is our time with Allah. Before it could escalate, a heavier presence filled the room. OG Reese. He was one of the Crip shot callers at Telfair. Reese was a dark-skinned 5'8" gangster out of Stone Mountain with deep-set eyes that looked like they'd seen death and walked away. He didn't yell. He didn't need to. His silence had weight. Reese stepped between the groups, his gaze locked on Kareem. "We sorry about that, Kareem." "They kids," he said. "Out of line, but they ain't no better. Let me handle it." Kareem didn't blink. "We show you respect when you circle up for your sets. We expect the same, Reese." Kareem, almost a half a foot taller than Reese at 6'1", bellowed as he looked down at the gangster. "And you'll get it," Reese replied. "That's on Crip cuz." The room stayed tense, like a string pulled too tight, but the storm passed, for now. The Crips left the day room with Reese grabbing the two wines and shoving them out the door. The Muslims resumed their prayer, but the peace was cracked, and the Muslims in B1 placed the Crips on their shit list. Over the next few weeks, B1 was quiet, but the kind of quiet that comes before a storm. Lil Seaport and Rico got violated by the set for their big mistake. They had to both get beat for 3 minutes apiece by 6 fellow gangsters, and Rico's soft jaw caused him to get knocked out after the first 10 seconds of pummeling. That was the code. The Muslims weren't over it. Not really. Kareem had long memories. He seen respect chipped away before it turned to blood. So he watched, waited, eyes always tracking who entered the day room, especially around prayer. Then came the day King James opened his mouth. King James, also known as Preacher, was one of the Crips in B1, but not like the others. He'd grown up in a Pentecostal household. He could quote scripture better than any jailhouse chaplain, carried a beat-up Bible like it was a weapon. Some say he only stayed Crip out of loyalty, not belief. One afternoon, while playing chess with Rico near the wall phones, Kareem and 2 other Muslims overheard James talking about faith. "Jesus is the only true and living God. Ain't no way around that," James said. Rico nodded, distracted by the game. "You really think that, Unc?"
Why you staring at my booty like that? Since you want to act all thirsty, you need to hit that like and subscribe button for this video. You keep staring at my booty and I'ma tell my man GK, and he ain't gonna let you watch his stories no mo.
"Nothing, I know." Kareem turned, slow, coming closer. "He was just a prophet, brother, nothing more, nothing less." Kareem said, "He wasn't God, not the son, just a man like you and me, brother." King James stood up, all 6 feet of him. "That's where y'all Islam dudes is wrong, Kareem." More Crips gathered around. A couple of Muslims stood behind Kareem. James didn't flinch. "Y'all pray 5 times a day but deny the truth standing in front of you. This ain't your Sunday school," one of the Muslims said. "Watch your mouth." "No," James snapped. "Y'all say Allah is everything, but without love, without Christ, y'all following a lie." The 4 Muslims hearing this gave James their full attention. As he continued his sermon, King James spat out biblical scriptures about how Jesus came down to earth from heaven and died for mankind's sins. Kareem came back at him with surahs from the Quran, disputing his words, but James mocked him, claiming the book they studied from was nothing but a fake-ass Bible, which caused the Muslims to start changing their body language into something threatening. When King James uttered disrespectful words about the Prophet Muhammad, the Muslims had had enough, and the closest one to him elbowed him in the mouth, jarring loose a side tooth. Immediately, the Crips mobilized and moved in on the Muslims in the dorm, started an all-out war. There was slashing and head stomping, and one Muslim even had a cup of microwave chemicals and feces thrown in his face, permanently disfiguring him forever. After the officer called the code and the CERT team stormed the dorm and sprayed gallons of mace everywhere, B1 went on lockdown for 46 days. All of the Muslims, except for the 2 that were scared to fight and locked themselves in their cells, were taken to the hole along with every single one of the Crips. All of this drama over a religious debate, which should serve as a warning for anybody listening to this that is out there committing crimes, to stop before you end up in a hellhole like Telfair. It's definitely not worth it.